You're welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching Business Incorporated. We're live to you on Channels Television. Now, today is the second and final day of the Monetary Policy Committee meeting of Nigeria's Central Bank. The decision of the committee that started its deliberations on Monday is expected to be announced by the governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, within the hour. Channels Business News team is live from Abuja for the briefing, as well as studio panel analysis starting now and until after Governor Emefiele's communique briefing. Let's cross over now to Channel Studio Abuja with our business editor, Bosun Mafai. Bosun, good afternoon to you.
Bolaji, thank you very much. Of course, you've all talked about this is one of the stories in the news each time the Monetary Policy Committee meets. We appreciate this. Now, let's kick things on from here to open the studios from Nigeria's political capital, Abuja, where the Central Bank is expected to make those announcements, what they've decided on within the hour. We expect that within the next 1 hour here, and we'll be crossing over to the Central Bank, where that will be live, where the Godwin Emefiele, the Central Bank chief, will be speaking. Of course, since morning we've seen, or since the last 24 hours on Twitter, via email, Nigerians have been speaking about what they expect. Would this be something like do nothing, or will we go back to July when the Central Bank actually did about 200 basis points to 14% on interest rate? What will be the decision today? This is very crucial. As Bolaji has said and some others have said, the consensus from some analysts is that this will most likely be a do nothing. But the panel here will chew that. This is the first installment. We'll start this. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation until we get across to the Central Bank. We'll listen to the governor, and then we'll follow up from there with the panelists here. Tope Fashiwa is here, who is a policy and financial analyst in the studio. Thanks for coming on the program, as well as Ogo Kitty, who is the Chief Executive Officer, also an economist at Time Economics. We appreciate your time as well.
Thank you for inviting me.
We appreciate both of you being here. Let's go quickly to have your thoughts for the first few minutes of this conversation. I'll take your point very quickly, like do an opinion poll. Tope, where do you see the decision today? Let's start from, let's roll it back, step forward. What do you hope to see?
Well, I think they don't have many options. Basically, I think they're going to be holding the rates at where it is right now. At
14%. Yeah. Do you hope to see anything as far as the rates are concerned with a liquidity ratio, cash reserve ratio?
Well, we sometimes in monetary policy you kind of run out of bullets and so on. In my view, hopefully, I think they're probably going to just watch for now. Situation is quite volatile. If you begin to reduce any of those rates for now, you could actually be powering up inflation. And, you know, we're in a stagflation. And so even the central bank itself has acknowledged in time past that some of those actions don't quite translate into the real sector growth or job, kind of growth that they want, So I think it's a time for them to really reflect and then hope against hope and see what happens as the year turns around.
Interesting. Ogo Kitty, in the last 24 hours, statistics office looks like spoiled the party a little bit for the MPC with a 2.24% negative GDP reading. What do you think the decision should be today? Hold, cut, or move up?
Well, as you rightly said, I mean, the figure yesterday was very, very depressing. I think the decision on whether to hold, there's definitely not going to be a cut. But I think the decision whether to hold or to raise would depend on what they think they can achieve. My thinking is that if they hold, there's not so much that you can achieve as it has to do with implications for growth, for output, for jobs, even in the near term. So I don't know, I don't see the channel. If they raise the rate, however, they may be taking into consideration the angle that there may be some increases in capital flows that may come from raising rates. So I think those are the things that they will have to juggle with.
So you think the last report on capital importation was a little bit promising as far as you are concerned? 1 minute?
Yes, it was promising when they raised rates from 12% to 14%. And though there were some significant flows after the 14% owed in the month of September, but it wasn't as dramatic as that as the one we experienced when they raised rate from 12 to 14%. So I think that would be a critical.
Tucker, what do you think? We have 1 minute, about 2 minutes to wrap up this opening sequence.
Well, my concern is whether we should actually be encouraging the portfolio flows in the first place. We've had our fingers burnt in a couple of times in the last 8 years, and I think the stock market also suffered a debilitating drop and is still in some sort of crisis as we speak. Of course, most of the portfolio flows coming in lately is into the bond market. Because if you're going to get the yields of about 16, 17, 18%, I mean, you do that all day.
Even the bond market is getting a little bit strange. Investors are asking for higher yields. And the last debt auction was not really encouraging. We placed 95 billion naira on the table via the DMO. We sold only 35 or 39 billion. Yes. More than 50% was unsold because investors want more. But
we need to be extremely careful.
We need to be extremely careful. I know you are careful. People are watching. We lost about 220 billion naira at the stock market last week. For those of you who have stocks in the market, I don't know what size of your portfolio is, but that's quite a lot to lose in just 1 week.
It is.
Gentlemen, we'll come back to you. Bolaji, we need to hand over back to you at the moment. Ogo Kitty here from Time Economics, and Dr. Fasho, who is a financial and policy analyst, will be talking to us when we come back. Bolaji, back to you in Lagos with Business Incorporated.
Thank you so much, Bosin Omofai, Channels Business News editor, on what may likely be the decision of the Monetary Policy Committee, as it will announce the decision any moment from now. From 2 p.m. local time, we'll be hearing from the governor of the central bank, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, on the decision reached by the committee. Channels Television will bring you the live coverage of that announcement. And just before we go on the program, the Executive Board of the International Monetary Fund met today to consider a report on misreporting by Mozambique under the policy support instrument and a breach of obligation under Article 8, Section 5 of the IMF's Articles of Agreement. The Executive Board also considered a recommendation by the Managing Director to reassess the past performance of Mozambique under the PSI. The Executive Board noted that the previously undisclosed debt has played a key role in making Mozambique a heavily indebted country and has placed the government's finances and international reserves under a considerable strain. As such, the undisclosed debt undermined the achievement of key goals under the PSIS, which included accelerating economic development and maintaining macroeconomic stability. And that brings us to the end of today's edition of Business Incorporated. Many thanks for watching, but just to remind you again that Channels Television will bring you the live coverage of the announcement of the Monetary Policy Committee decision on the direction of the interest rate, and that will be done by the CBN governor himself, Mr. Godwin Emefiele. I am Bolaji Akinwale. Bye for now.